Welcome to the Age of Awakening.
Please identify yourself. Enter.
Hey, what's up, Triple P Nation? Welcome back for another week of the Triple P Life Podcast. We got an incredible guest for you this week. His name is Jason Yarusi. Jason is a public speaker who captivates audiences with his magnetic presence and engaging storyteller. He's seamlessly blends personal anecdotes with actionable insights, transforming complex concepts into practical tools for success. He's a successful entrepreneur, private fund manager overseeing over $300 million in commercial real estate. And he's built and existed multiple ventures, including construction, restaurants, brewery, and of course, large apartment complexes. He also is the host of the Live 100 podcast. We had a really incredible conversation. Jason's a smart guy. You're going to learn a whole lot. And in fact, a lot of stuff we talk about here, Jason takes to the next level. So I appreciate him doing so. But before we get to our interview, our success snack of the week is I've got 3 secrets for you to stop dead scrolling. Because as what Jason's going to teach you here today, it's your habits that determine your destiny. And if you're in this mindless habit of dead scrolling over and over, hours and hours a day, man, I'm telling you, you are absolutely on the wrong path, because there's no way you can be moving forward with your goals and more importantly, working on yourself if you're sitting there looking at the screen all the time. So here's 3 things that you can do to stop the dead scroll. Number 1 is build a tech-free routine and zone. What does that mean? Well, designate tech-free zones. So whether it's your dining room table, so when it's time for dinner with the family, phones off. In fact, phones out of the kitchen. Your bedroom, when it's time to go to sleep, get your phone out of there. Obviously, we know about the EMFs. That's not good for you. Or if it's time to, connect with your loved one, don't have the phone in the room. Don't have any distraction whatsoever. Also, right, tech-free routine would also include figuring out a digital detox day. Maybe that's Sundays. I know a lot of people, especially high performers, who don't look at their social media at all on Sundays. It's actually a great routine. Now, the second step is set yourself some clear limitations. You can use apps like Stay Focused or Freedom to limit your screen time, so they can limit how much time you're on. If you want to put a 15-minute, 30-minute, go on, do what you got to do, but get the hell off. So those timers are going to help keep you accountable, so you don't sit there endlessly and you look up, it's an hour and a half has gone away, and so much more you could have accomplished that would move you closer to your goals. And of course, as I mentioned before, do not scroll in bed. Not only is the blue light bad for you because it affects the production of melatonin, but of course, it's going to impact and affect your quality of sleep, in particular your REM, which your body's going through the most repair and healing from the previous day. And number 3 is prioritize real world connections. What does that mean? Guys, spend time with people, right? The beauty and joy of life is connections, it's relationships. Go out, meet new people, go find people who are successful, take them out for coffee, find out about, it's interesting. You get on a plane, and if you're traveling alone, what does everybody do? They've got their head in their phone. I'm actually interested to introduce myself and say hello to the person next to me. I've met so many fascinating people when I'm traveling, really smart people. People are doing cool things. I've built relationships. You never know who's next to you, the relation you can create, and the opportunity that might afford you. So make real world connections, build relationships, focus on people first, devices second. Okay, there you go. 3 secrets to stop dead scrolling. All right, guys, enjoy my interview with Jason. Great stuff. Take some notes, and here we go. Hey, Triple P Nation. This week, I got Jason Yarusi. Jason, did I say that correctly?
Yarusi. Yeah, you got it.
I thought I did. Okay. Just want to be clear, man.
I figured New Jersey to New Jersey, you would have it down. So
absolutely. So Jason, as I mentioned, is a public speaker. He's an entrepreneur. He's a podcaster. he's a guy after my own heart. Similar paths that we're leading. And so when his people reached out to us, I got to have him on because he sounds like he's doing some amazing stuff. So, Jason, welcome. Say hi to Triple P Nation.
Yeah, Jay, thanks for having me. Great to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I always like to start from the beginning. You've been a successful guy and you're doing a lot of cool things. Was there a certain moment in time where there was a transformation or a seminal moment that changed the direction of your life that led you onto the path of success that you're experiencing now?
There's been a few moments, right? I think many times that we have a lot of moments happen in our life. We just have to choose to act on them, right? We face a lot of consequences or a lot of things that we don't like, and we can either just be happily content with not being happy, or just choose to make a course direction, right? And so, I left high school and went to college. Was really kind of lacking. I was really shy. I wasn't very confident, and I had a lot of loss. I had some friends die from just tragic events that were just kind of just off the cuff, and it set me down a path where I went to college without much direction. Moved into New York City after college with a business degree, but didn't really feel compelled to do anything with this. So I started working in bars and restaurants, which seemed to be the logical choice, and I was just getting results that I wasn't fulfilled with, right? You do chaotic things, you get chaotic results, surprisingly. And a few years into that, I was working at a bar one night where, I was mad at the universe. I was blaming, my upbringing, my surroundings, everything but myself. And I got on my bike 2:33 in the morning, riding across Manhattan, heading back to my apartment, and out of nowhere, I got hit by a car and threw me into the air. I got up and got pulled out of the street, taken to the hospital, had some, a pin put in my wrist, a broken shoulder, some stitches got put into my head, my chin. And lo and behold, a day later, I get out of the hospital. And the only thing I can think about is, oh man, I have to get back to this bar job because I need to make money for rent. And, I had this pause. I was like, okay, well, that's a pretty crazy thought, because all I'm doing is complaining about my circumstance, hating where I am. And now I get hit by a car and luckily walk out of a hospital. And the only thing I can think about is getting back to exactly where I didn't want to be. And I took a pause, and sometimes things happen. You just really don't have the answers, right? You know you don't want it, but you don't know what to do. And sometimes that paralyzes you from taking any action. And I said to myself, well, I got to do something different, or I have to just live with it, with the results I'm getting. And I made a pact with myself that I was just going to try something different, but I didn't quite know what that was. And so the next day and the days preceding, I just started to do things almost in opposite of what I was doing. Stop staying out late, stop drinking at night, get up earlier, start to get back into some kind of workout regimen, start to read books again, like just start to take in things. And it wasn't this magical overnight transformation, but lo and behold, things started to look brighter. I went from, working behind a bar to opening up a bar, opened up a restaurant. I opened and sold a brewery before moving out to New Jersey to help the family run the construction business there, before moving into real estate. And then just compiling of just things started to really take off. And so we moved into real estate in 2012 and started to buy apartment buildings into 2016. And since then, we've brought a little over about 3,400 units of apartments down here in the Southeast. And that's really led us to where we stand today.
It's fantastic. Transformational is rarely a short-term gig. It's something
Correct.
that occurs over a period of time. As you were going through that process, what compelled you to stay the course? Because it's easy when you're faced with adversity to go, okay, I'm going to choose something different. But then you get into the grit and the grind of it. And so many people, when they're at that point, that's when they go, man, I don't know. I don't know if I can continue to do this. I'm not seeing the results that I want. I'm not occurring fast enough, whatever it may be. What caused you to stay the course and fight it and get to the point where you're at now?
Maybe stubbornness. I think in the fact of life is that, we have these things that happen all the time, and we're not patient with the results, right? And even like what we do with buying apartments today is that, it may take 6, 9, 12 months to find an opportunity. You just have to do the work. And just even, working out or New Year's resolutions, right? We see so many of them fail. 92% of New Year's resolutions fail because we're impatient with allowing just the work to actually pay off. And so from my point, I was having so much resistance from just my internal network, just saying, well, you're on the wrong path, from everything of just what you're doing right apart. But I didn't want to go back to the path I was on, and I didn't know any different. So I just started to really push against everything I was doing and just shut off the noise and just keep one step at a time. And when I was faced with those days, because they come of just saying, oh, I don't really know if I want to continue. Well, the alternative was to go back to where I didn't want to be. And I said, okay, well, let's just give it one more day and one more day. And you do enough of those, let's just give it one more day. And eventually, if you can just stay in it for just that one more day, no matter how many one more days there are, you will find if you're putting in the work, the results will show up. And you just can't dictate when the results happen. And you can get back to things of goals, and goals are great. You want to have goals in your life, but if your sole focus is the goal, you miss that you're doing all the time in the actions and the tasks, right? If the goal is to anything, go get a new job, meet that special someone, lose 30 pounds, make $1 million, right? If you focus solely on the goal, then every day you don't achieve that goal, you feel like less, you feel like a failure. But if you can focus on the things you can control. So today I need to get up and I need to walk around the block 2 times, or I need to get up and make those 5 sales calls, or I need to, get up and work on myself, or, meditate in the morning. You have things that you can control. You start to feel fulfilled in the action because you feel like progressing. And when you can get back to working on the actions and completing the actions, then your life starts to take transformation, because you're not just set on this goal that may come, may not come, or may grow into something else, but at least you're working to something that's better than where you are.
It's a really good point. Your last point is very, very critical. Oftentimes you set a goal, and as you're in the process of doing it, and I talked about this a lot about being self-aware. If you're in the process and you're aware of your actions, you're aware of your environment and the surroundings, oftentimes new opportunities present that take you in a completely different direction that you never anticipated yourself going. And then you go, how did I get here? But it's because of the grind, the grit, and the self-awareness in the process, because you will be getting messages. You're going to be meeting people. You're going to experience opportunities that you may never could have imagined previously. And all of a sudden your life goes in a direction, like I said, you could never have contemplated. So was there a person, a book, a mentor that you really relied upon that began to shift your mindset, your consciousness, your energy, that was kind of the fuel for your success?
There was plenty, right? There was a lot in various forms. And you're right, as you expand your mind, you get better at your questioning, right? It's because it's always that think we're seeking the answers. But when I really got to the discovery that I wasn't getting the right answer because I didn't understand the right question, right? And when you can open yourself to the new opportunities, it comes from just understanding what question to ask, and more importantly, how and who to ask it to. So at each phase, right, you would have people that would come into my life, even when I was working at one of the bars in New York City, that owner had done a lot of things that were uncanny for the bar space, and was able to give us good feedback. Then I moved into really working construction and working into real estate. I met another person in my life who would just give me guidance about, how to look proactively at new opportunities, how to go out there and just understand what is potentially possible. Then I would have people in the apartment space who were doing this successfully, and I would look at their model, and I would ask them questions about how they're able to do this, not only just today, but to continue to have a business for years. I even had someone in over the weekend that I hadn't seen him in 5 years, and when I first started out in real estate, he was doing something like 100 projects a year, and he's done that for almost 2 decades now. And you look at that when you're just trying to do one project, and you're saying, well, I can't even imagine doing one project, let alone 100, right? And you look at him, and he barely goes to the office. There's a full team doing. He's always around his kids, and you look at that life, and you say, well, how did he get there? And you would just ask them questions that you were ready for at the moment. But now we've been able to achieve that on our side, and now I'm able to have a new conversation with them that it continues to expand and grow, right? And so at each point, you'll have people come in your life, and the thing to look for is that you have to be ready for them to come in your life, because you can have great people on all sides of you, even if you're struggling today. But if you're not open to what they have to offer, then it doesn't matter what their message is.
You brought up a really good point, and your quality of life is directly related to the quality of the questions you ask. You want a better life, ask better questions. Obviously, you got to surround yourself with really good, smart, intelligent people. If you're the smartest person in the room, find a better room, because that's the only way you'll learn and grow. I love that you mentioned that, because I really find that to be a very important aspect of success. So how do you measure success, Jason?
I look at this in a lot of ways. I used to look at this a lot on the goals we're setting, and those are still nice to achieve. But honestly, I have 3 little kids now, 6, 8, and 10, so they're growing. And I look at that and just the messages that I'm going to share with them, and how I'm going to prepare them to make big decisions for the future, right? If I can get to the point that they look back and say, my dad was a great dad, that's going to be a really successful mark. I look at many points where I see, kids, in some of their schools and other points that they're not, really getting the feedback from their parents, and maybe the point of just, the parents aren't truly there, and it stands out in the kids. And I'm not going to be able to tell my kids what to do. That's not what I want for them, but I want to give them the proper, we'll say, education and feedback. So when they're in a position, they'll have all the information they need to make the best decision as possible.
Yeah, it's a really good point. So my kids are quite a bit older, Jason. I've got a soon to be 36, a 33, and a 30-year-old. And
Fantastic. Yeah.
so I've said, and we're incredibly close, and I'm grateful as hell for that. But I've often said, when people say, well, on the outside, look, hey, you've got a successful family, been successful in business, and so on and so forth. How did you create such a successful family? And I said, it's not about telling your kids what to do. You have to show them what to do.
Mhm.
They will watch you much closer than they will listen. So if you are living congruent, in other words, we talk about health and wellness, and we actually, so wherever we travel as a family, we always find a place to work out, or we make a place to work out, and we eat well, and all those things, right? So if I told them to do it but didn't do it, then I'm a fraud. I'm incongruent, and they're not going to, there's no authenticity there. So it's such an important part that I'm glad that you mentioned. So let me ask you this question, because being a dad of 3 small kids and as busy you are, how do you maintain a level of balance in your life to be able to be present with your family, right? Be there for them, do the things that is necessary to help create a healthy environment at home, but yet to build and grow your businesses? How do you create that kind of balance?
So yeah, it's funny you said that about, working out. I had just done a short recently where I was just talking about, if you want to have lazy kids, be lazy yourself, because you're going to watch, right? Even if you're sitting there on the sidelines, tell them to do something, they're saying, well, in their minds, they're smart no matter what age, right? They see you not doing it, so they see that maybe your value isn't in it, so why should they value it, right? And when I look at what we're doing with business and what we're doing with family now, you're going to be as busy as you want to be. There's constantly more things to do. However, when you're with work or when you're with your kids, you have to be self-aware, to be intentional, to actually be there with them. Many times you're with one or the other, you're distracted because potentially you're feeling guilty, or you're feeling like there's something to do somewhere else. And so your mind's not truly there, or you're not truly engaged with them, right? And it's very present with your family, right? If you're at the dinner table and you're rocking out emails on your phone, or you're constantly getting up to take a call, right? 99% of these things are not emergency. 99% of these things do not need to take away from the space. And that dinner, say it's 25, 35, 40 minutes, whatever it is, that's a commitment that you're making to your family. But if they see you not truly there, it gives them a sense of how you value that time. And with work, the same thing, right? You may say, well, I don't feel good because I was, short with my kids or my wife, because I was really rushed last night because I had to do all these things. And now today you're feeling guilty and you're not completely committed to what you're doing at work. Well, now you're not getting value out of either. So the most I can do is that when I'm in one place, I just try to be exactly where my feet are and put all my energy into that. And so when I leave this, I can feel like I've given everything I can for that time, and I can go be present into their activities, because there's always going to be things popping up. We have 5 businesses. There's constantly stuff to do. There's constantly things coming on. There's constantly things happening. There's all kinds of things happening. But are all these things detrimental to the business right now? If they are, good, let's deal with them. If they are not, then let's put in the right protocols, right practices, so they can be dealt with accordingly with the team, so we're not constantly being pulled in 50 directions for things that are not optimal or not needed for us.
So you sound like a guy who's got a very clear understanding of what your core values are as a business guy, as a dad, so on and so forth. And I've always said, when you're living incongruent with your values, you're focusing on low priority tasks. When you are congruent with your values, you're going to be spending the time, your key time, on those high priorities. So if family's a high priority, you're going to be present on that. We have our family Sunday dinners, phones
That's
are
right.
off, no calls, no nothing. It's all about family. We sit there, we rib each other, we have fun, we argue, but there's nothing better than that. I would take that over anything, man. If I was given a choice, here's $1 million, or you can't, $10 million, or you can't spend time with your family. Give me the family all day long.
Yeah,
You know?
1,000%.
Yeah.
You see so much time where, we think like the time will come. You like, oh, when I get this, then I can do this, right? And we always equate some achievement with some ability to do something, but that never happens. Like you never like, when I get to a certain amount of money, I'll start tithing. When we get to a certain point where I get this certain job, then we'll start, taking time together as a family. When this happens, then I'll start working out. Like you can always have that, if then that, right? Idea in your mind, but you just have to start now, right? And you build it into your life, because life, there's that funny meme, like, adulthood is like telling yourself that, at least next week it's going to get less and less busy for the rest of your life. Right. And it just never does. You just constantly go in this motion of just stuff happening that you either have to set up guardrails or really just, run the risk of constantly be running off the rails.
Yeah, it's a really good point. So tell me about your podcast, Live 100, and you've got these pillars about Live 100. Share that with my audience.
So we had, as I talked to earlier, a pretty non-traditional route to where we stand today, right? And it wasn't, this is my thought out process. I'm going to go to school and do this, and then I'm going to leave school and start this, real estate business. It was all a very non-linear path. And so we get the questions, many times about, working with my wife, how we've come together, how we built the business. And we started to look back at just the steps I was taking. And Live 100 was a direct path from that. It's about breaking the habits that no longer serve you so you can build the future that you truly desire. And it's built on 3 foundational blocks: break, build, and magnify. With the first block, there's 3 principles in each block, but the first block is really the most important, right? Because many times, we want to get to the build and the magnify, but if you haven't gotten to the point to just fortify where you are, then it's all going to crumble at some part, right? You might have short-term success or things happen in the short term, but it won't sustain. And the first block, the 3 principles, are being self-aware, owning where you are, and then really position yourself for greatness. And what many times happens is that we're not really being self-aware about how we show up. We're showing up in a way that's, we're full of greed or gluttony, or we're full of hate or unhappiness. And that's present, right? Present in our daily life, or lacking or just non-desire, right? And you can think of it many times of just how your words come out. You've, I'm sure, said, "Hey, how you doing?" to someone, and they're like, "Well, at least I'm not dead," right? Like things like that come out of people's mouth. You're like, man, like, come on, guy, Yeah, but like you hear that, and that's many times how people, think in their mind, is that they're always thinking of what can't happen. Like I can't do this because of this. I can't do that because of that. And when you have that, your ability to grow becomes decapitated, right? Because you're already setting your own shackles, and you're setting your own roadblocks. And so when you become self-aware of how you're showing up, it allows you to go and own it. Like, it's not like, I'm broke, I'm unemployed, I don't have someone in my life. I'm not saying go and be satisfied with it, but you have to set your starting line so you can go and own it. Because the way to position yourself for greatness is you have to say, okay, here's where I am, and there's where I want to be. In 1 year, I want to be this person. And you look at the habits of what that person would have, right? That person you want to be, how would that person show up? And you look at the habits that now you have in your life. And it's an A to B trajectory of saying, okay, that's the person I want to be. In my mind, that's how this person would show up. They'd get up early, they'd work out, maybe they read the Bible, they would spend time with their spouse, they would go to work, they would make the calls they have to make, or they would set the meetings, or they put together the plan. Those are the steps they'd be doing, and they'd be intentional with it. Okay, well, here today, I get up late, I'm constantly rushed, I eat poorly because I'm constantly out of whack. I never feel like I have time to work out, so I don't, right? So I don't make time for what's important. So to change myself from where I am to where I want to be, I have to be self-aware so I can set the starting line, so we can start building in the habits of the person I want to be. Because we don't just get rid of habits. Like, you don't stop smoking and then all of a sudden say, okay, I just stopped smoking. Well, now say you smoke, 10 cigarettes a day. You've now just gotten back an hour in your day. And if you do not find a way to replace that with better habits, you're just going to replace it with some other habit that's not going to be conforming to where you want to be. So you have to be evident of the things you're taking away. And then you have to really put into play what needs to fill those gaps, because that white space is going to get filled. And if your mind is built on a lot of negative things, then what's going to happen is you're just going to replace one negative thing with another negative thing, because subconsciously your mind just says, oh, I'll just put something else in there that's going to make me feel good because the smoking made me feel good. Until you're conscious to say that's not welcomed in the path I want to do. So instead of smoking, fill in the gap. I'm going to go outside for 15 minutes and walk around the block, or XYZ, right? And when you do, you start replacing habits that are going to be a habit in some form with better habits that will constantly start to build momentum into the right direction.
Yeah, it's really really important and great concepts that you laid out. So you talked about break, build. You said there were three subcategories under each. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And
That's correct.
what were the three under the build?
So the build is to master meaningful habits and rituals. Because now you've positioned yourself for greatness where you want to go. So now you have to master those habits, right? Many times we just say, I'll just try stuff, but you're not truly committed. You don't work on them, right? And it's like the Kobe Bryant philosophy. Like the reporter went up to Kobe and said, Kobe, you're the best basketball player in the world. Why do I see you doing these basic drills? And he goes, well, why do you think I'm the best basketball player in the world? It's because everybody else is trying to do the 360 dunk or go do this, shooting from half court, right? And he's just doing the basics. He's doing the basics better than everybody else does, and it allowed him to grow. It's the same thing with our life. If we can build and master habits and master the rituals that it takes for us to go and be great, what do you think is going to happen? You're going to level up beyond, because most people want to jump to, flying, getting a jet or like getting that fancy car or getting that house without putting in the work to the repetitions, right? Or having the body. The next is then intentionally executing. You have to be intentional with your day. We talked to earlier is that how do you not stop, right? Well, like working out, most days I don't feel like working out, but I work out, right? It's you can't wait to feel like things are right for you to go and take action. You have to intentionally do the work each and every day, put the work into action. And then the last one is being uncomfortably brave. As you break out, right? As you break out, it's like the butterfly breaking out of the cocoon, right? As you break out, you're going to face things. You're going to face adversity. There's going to be, new challenges that come upon. It could be anything. It could be that, the people surrounding you don't like the direction you're going. It could be that, you're now facing new, higher challenges at work. There's going to be something that comes up, and you have to be uncomfortably brave to the circumstance and continue to carry on, continue to work through it. Because as you learn to work through these, right, it's like, when you look at problems, I equate things to either a forget a problem or a 5-year problem, right? And every problem we treat like it's the same problem. Like most of the time, like anything that happens to our day, we treat it like level 10, like it's like RPM 8,000. But if you would think in your problems to say, am I going to remember this problem in 5 years? And if the answer is no, then just go solve it right now. Just get through it, because it's not a big deal. Just go through it. But if it's something that is going to have a long-lasting effect, right, and I have to truly put my energy and attention onto it, great. Now that's where you put level 10 energy into it, and you make sure you make the right decision for what it is. And when we do that, it creates a lot more certainty in our mind, but it also allows us to create resistance and discipline and perseverance that continue to build yourself into the new person.
And what were the three under the magnify?
Magnify there is accelerated growth, right? Because now if you take yourself to the level here that you've gone master meaningful habits and rituals, it's like the idea go slow to go fast, right? You many times we want to rush into something, but if we can go slow and master the habit and intentionally execute, and then be uncomfortably brave to what's ahead, then we can really accelerate our growth. And when we accelerate our growth, we get a new level of awe-inspiring rise, where that would be the 8th principle. To the last one, becoming limitless. And in our minds, the limits are many times framed by our mind, and they're framed by what our ideas are about what's possible. But you look at some of the things that can be accomplished, it becomes a point that there's more ability to do great things than we could ever imagine. But if someone else is doing something that's just completely off the charts, there's the ability to do something just as powerful in your own mind, but you have to truly believe it. And when you believe it, then you can go out there to do this and help others and create value and offer opportunity while you're growing too.
It's great stuff, man. I really like the way that you laid it out. It's simple and it's understanding, but it's powerful in the content. So good for you. And so this is what people can learn and follow when they check out your podcast, Live 100.
That's correct. We talk a lot. It's, typically 5 to 8 minutes. We just come in there and just quick hits. We talk a lot in principles, stories of the principles, practice of the principles, and just how we're using our day, how other people are using their day, and just what's really been beneficial for us to continue to grow. Because the Live 100 program is great, but it's not made for just us to improve, right? If I was just, got better myself, that okay, cool, fine. But if I'm not able to use this and share it, like what could be better? Like, you're doing great things, right? But if you just got great and then you didn't pass it on to your kids or your people in your network, or the Triple P life, like, then there's only that one aspect. Okay, you've performed, but you're not bringing everybody else with you. You want to bring everybody else with you because you find it's that way that I want to give people that they surpass me, because at a certain point, then they're going to bring me up and then I'm going to bring them back up. And it's going to be this point where That's the Limitless faction. When you continue to help others, they help you. It just becomes full circle and everybody grows together.
That's such a big point. It's we are really here to elevate each other, right? And so if you're doing great things, I've often said that, you know, I think a lot of times people who begin their journey, they're hesitant to reach out to successful people because they're like, why would they ever want to talk to me? I don't have really any value to give to them, but they don't understand that they were in your shoes at one point and someone reached out and helped them, or someone reached down to help them. And there's almost beyond morally, but there's a responsibility to do the same, to give back. And I think people miss that's just the normal cycle of how it works. So I'm glad you mentioned that.
As much as I can, I try to do something to be helpful when people reach out, right? And so I had someone reach out the other day, found a building I owned in Arkansas, and he's like, I've reached out to a lot of people. I'm trying to do this in a bar, and I just got in a call with him. And what I found for when people were helping me, it's not all the information I got. It would be one thing that if I get one thing that was just really, it just broke the mold because in my mind I couldn't get by it, right? So it was just one thing that someone would say that would be that trigger that would help me out of the gate. And so, offered things to him, and I gave him one thing that I thought could be really helpful for him to get going, and was able to launch pad him, just get out of the stuck phase, because we stand so much time in the stuck phase because we feel like we're missing one thing, or we need all this additional information. But you get that one thing, it's like the key that opens that next door. And that's all we need. We don't need the whole route of how to get from A to Z. We just need that next door open so we can open up new opportunities to learn new questions, right? Get that one door open, you go into that next room, you say, okay, I'm in this next room. Okay, now I get past that one thing that was my roadblock, and now I'm into this new room, and make these new discoveries, and make these new things that open up my mind even more.
So it's fascinating. Is back in the day, maybe you were the same way when you were going through your challenges and, working as a bartender in the city. When you're in that mode, you can't even see the opportunities. You can't even see all the things that are in front of you that, can make your life magical. And that's why I've always said that, who you surround yourself is so critical, how they think, because people reveal their mindset by how they speak. You referenced it before, right? If someone said, well, I made it through the day, or I made it through the week, or thank God it's Friday, I already know their mindset, And so the fact is that if we can get around a group of people who could elevate our energy, elevate our thoughts, man, the possibilities then become almost limitless. And they really are. And I've been telling people this, I really think we're on the cusp of an economic boom in so many ways. And so you can either get on the train or get ahead of the train, or you could be on the caboose and riding the tails of somebody else. But either way, it's happening. What are you going to do? Position yourself to benefit from it and to add value to it that's going to help other people. And I think that's something that I think people really need to understand, because it's coming, whether you like it or not.
I absolutely agree. And in all phases, like I'm happy with the election results, just to be through right. But if the election went the other way, I wasn't going to end my life either. I can't blame everybody else for where my circumstances are. I spent enough time doing it, right? And so if you're doing that right now, like it's time to stop, because the only thing you can control is really how you show up. And you can control how you react to other things. And if you're constantly going to react in the wrong, well, you're going to be surprised that most of what you get is wrong. It's wrong from your ideals. And so you have to understand that there is plenty of opportunity out there. And this country, despite of any feeling you have, is still the greatest country in the world. It still gives you the most opportunity more than anything else. And that's why people are, hand over fist trying to get here, because there's the opportunity for you to go out there and do great things, seek greatness, improve, and if you mess up today, still have tomorrow to go back there and try greater things. And so you look at the future ahead, it's bright. It's bright whether you like it or not. But if the more you like it, the more opportunity is going to be on your side.
Yeah, for sure. Most millionaires, the most amount of millionaires made at one point was during the Great Depression. So it tells you there's always opportunity in every economic condition. So you help people find their limiting habits, which is or understand their limiting habits. That's a very difficult thing to do. What's your process to help people, to reveal those so they can begin to maybe move in a different direction?
Many times it's just getting us to slow down to a point that we can actually look at our day. And we can start hierarchically on a year of what we've done, but you have to look at your day, because of your day, 98% is subconscious, right? So 2% you're actually being conscious. And if you have 75,000 thoughts a day and 80% of them are repeated, well, if you have a lot of negativity built in your day, you're just doing this on repetition, on autopilot each and every day, because you're not even aware of it. You're just showing up. This is just what you do, just what you've done. And you have to first just identify exactly what you're doing. So it can go as simple as, looking at your calendar to more in depth of just, how you're showing up the process, because we get stuck in sometimes a fine way, right? To put things into paths that are just completely outside of our thinking. Like imagine the first time you ever got in a car, right? And your first time you're driving, right? You're really ideal. Like, okay, where do I put my feet? Like where do my hands go? Like, how do I put the car in reverse? Like you're completely in the know and in the moment with driving a car, but now you just get in a car and go, right? So that's how a lot of our habits are, right? We started something that was just kind of a big deal in the beginning. I'm going to have that first cigarette, or, I'm just going to drink a beer each night, right? And now you just do it because it's just part of your process. And so we have to really identify, one, what are the things we're doing each day? Two, we have to idealize, where do we want to be? Where are we and where do we want to be? And when we do that, we can say, okay, now what are the habits of the person we want to be? Let's list them out, right? Do they get up early? Are they involved in church? Do they go out there and actively have their own business or work for somebody else? If they are with somebody else, what kind of role that is? What kind of values does that person in that role hold? And then we look at the trajectory. What would be the habits that would get us from where we are to where we want to be? So it sounds elongated, but if you look at it, it can be very simple. Here's the habits of the person I am today. And we're not judging. We're just saying this is what it is. Because you have to have a starting line. We have to have the line we start from, no matter where it is. Like if you're overweight by 40 pounds, you can't just blind to buy and just say, okay, I'll just be in shape. No, okay, you're overweight by 40 pounds. Okay, that's fine. What do you want to be? I want to be healthy. I want to, weigh, 195 pounds. Okay, what would be the process of a person that can get there, but also sustain it, right? Because when we're doing these habits, we want to rush the result, but we don't want to rush to have it to last. And that's why you see people, especially like dieting or exercise, failing the New Year's resolution because they rush the result. They lose 30 pounds, but when they get to that 30 pounds, they don't truly understand who that person was when they got there. So they say, well, okay, I guess I've lost that 30 pounds, so I kind of don't know what to do. So I'll just go back to some of the, if I just have 2 donuts today, it won't be a big deal. But then the next day, if I go and just have, a shake, it won't be a next deal because, I've lost that 30 pounds. And then lo and behold, they gain the weight back because they haven't built in the mind the person that is them when they show up to the goal. And you have to truly identify who is the person that's going to show up when the goal happens. And that's the person that when they lose 30 pounds, they start to enjoy their life and fill the life with other habits to replace the habits that were breaking them in the first place.
Sure, they see themselves as lean and healthy as opposed to the overweight person. This is was a great book by Maxwell Maltz called Psycho-Cybernetics. I don't know if you've ever read it.
I have not. Yeah,
but it was an LA plastic surgeon. And I believe the book was written in the 50s, but it's really a great story. Long story of it is that this woman when this woman walked into his office, he thought she was the most beautiful woman he had ever met in his life. And she came in and she said she wanted to have her nose tweaked. And he's like, well, I think it's perfect, but all right, you're the client. So he did whatever she wanted to do. A few months later, she comes back and she wants to get her breasts augmented. And this goes on and on and on till the point where she was unrecognizable, from what he thought was the most beautiful woman in the world to unrecognizable because she saw, even though everyone outside of her saw her as beautiful, inside she saw an ugly person. And she was trying to augment it to create this image. And it's no different, right? Is why are you setting this goal, right? Who are you becoming? How are you going to feel? What's your life going to be like when you accomplish this goal? Which is such the important part because that becomes the leverage to stay on task.
I have a friend who says, so many times you can't see the label because you're stuck inside a jar, right? And that phrase is up that right there. And the way that can be, a little exercise you can do is that imagine if you had this out of body experience that you're just sitting there watching yourself each day, right? And you could be anything like sitting in traffic, like yelling at people, like on the phone, how you talk, like how you show up to your kids, right? Like how you're working out, like if you're truly there, like think of anything. But like if you were someone else and just yourself, outside yourself, watching yourself, is that the representation that you want to have? Because we're inside ourselves. So many times that we don't truly pay attention to how we're showing up. But if you're sitting outside yourself, watching yourself, like, okay, you just got cut off by traffic, who knows, maybe it was an accident, maybe the person was rushing to the hospital, I don't know, but you just got out of the car, threw a rock at it, just like, is that the person that shows up as the person you want to be, right? And when you do that, it sets in a little bit of reality because you're able to just pause the noise and take a true look at how you're actually acting in the moment, because the moments build up to a lifetime.
Mm-hmm. That's the self-awareness part. And by the way, right, we're never going to show up perfect all the time. And it's okay. Give yourself some grace. But if you're aware and you look back and I didn't handle that as well as I could. All right, I have some self-awareness. How would I handle that differently?
Yeah.
So this is just great stuff. Jason, it's been a lot of fun, man. The time went by really, really quickly. So one final question for you is, as you proceed and with the success you've had with personally and professionally, what's your big vision for yourself and your future?
We've been really happy with our growth, right? And so from a real estate perspective, our work has been to find one opportunity a quarter, right? So close 4 deals a year. Now, it doesn't always align perfectly, right? But we work on the actions to do that, right? So I see that as a really big part. We've been really happy with our move down to Tennessee. Our kids are at a fantastic school here. I'd like to see us continue to get more involved, helping them in the school, helping them coaching, and then just continuing to prepare them for the future. And I look at that where it sets up in a way that, if I look back, 15, 20 years ago to say that I'm here today, living where I live with the wife I have and the kids, I would have never expected it. So just the bigger picture is that I'm going to keep positive momentum. I have no idea where that's going to get us, but I'm really happy in the route we're on.
It's fantastic. So when did you leave Jersey?
December 2020, we were thinking for many times that we were going to make a move. And then, what happened is at that time, my kids were like, 2, 4, and 6, right? And so they were like in their elementary schools, and it was just madness. Like one day they're in school, the next day they're out for 3 days on Zoom. The Zoom meetings would be like 7 minutes at a time, and then it was like it was very crazy just how it was. And so we were like, okay, well, this would be a perfect time to explore moving. And so we put the house up in the market, thinking like we'd have some time to just figure things out. And in like 3 days, we had like two or three over asking offers. We're like, oh, okay, I guess we're gonna fast track this move. And we were looking at, my wife is born and raised in Hawaii. We met in New York City, but her family's all in Hawaii. So we're looking at stuff potentially in Denver or Phoenix, where we thought potentially that'd be cool. But ideally, you still have to get on a plane to them. Like, it's not like we're just going to take it and, okay, it's closer, we'll ride there. And everything that we invest in is mainly down here. We're in 7 states, but it's all around the Southeast. And so we had just purchased an apartment building down here in this city in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. So we said, that was the third one that came up, and we have some friends down here. We said, well, let's go give it a shot. And if it doesn't work out, what's the worst that happens? We move back, we move somewhere else, but let's just go explore. And it's been a great move. I still have a lot of friends and family up in New Jersey, so really a great place for us. But it's been a really fantastic move down here, and it's been really good for us in the business.
That's great. I know Murfreesboro. I know that area well. Got family in the area. I love it. It's one of the places we've discussed maybe, kind of doing a part-time, half year. But, I've been gone from New Jersey now for about 30 something years. And each time I go back, I'm like, each time I want to go back less. Like, I love seeing my family, of course, but it's like, man, this is just so crazy and congested. It's unbelievable, but
it certainly is. Yep.
Yeah. So it's
people get on about the traffic here, and I say, I guarantee, 30 years ago in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, I can understand there was no traffic, but
right.
I'm bringing you to any major city and we can talk about traffic.
For sure.
Yep.
It gets back to value and quality of life, and that just didn't meet our expectations. So again, this has been a lot of fun. I really appreciate you coming on, sharing your wisdom, some incredible content. Anything else you want to share with the audience, how they can find you and follow what you're doing?
Yeah, Jay, great talk. Thanks so much for having me on. Really enjoyed the platform, the talk, and everything else. You can go find the Live 100 podcast on all the usual players. So you find that out there, give it a listen. And also, if you go to jasonyarusi.com, we have a free assessment. You can take an assessment. That's your Live 100 assessment, just to see where your starting line is. These questions can just help you dive in and just get an indication of just where you stand.
And that's Yarusi, Yarusi, Jason Yarusi.
Correct.
Thanks again, Jason. I really appreciate it. And we'll be in touch. So Triple P Nation, as I always say, you be you, just be the best you. And I promise you will always empower your dreams, ignite your passion, and accelerate your prosperity. Until next week, be well.